So we're here recording live. We're putting the late night into late night. I know we don't have the title late night on our show, Dalan, but we're recording late. We're recording pretty late. This is for your Salient Points number 16 for January 9, 2018. I'm Carlos Macias, and I got my co-host on the other side.
Thank you. I'll be the host. That's fine. Dalan Kirkwood here, hosting it for you. Thanks for joining me, Carlos.
You know, I did notice last week or last episode, I said it was like January 14th. So I apologize for that. People are probably like, "I'm the future. What's up with this?"
I did have to do a little correction on you on that one.
But yeah. Thanks for you didn't even correct me, man. You are the Mr. Correction, and I don't think you recorded me on me saying like January 14th or whatever.
It's okay. People will understand.
But I think we have it right this time. It's for January 9th, 2018. Your this week's Tuesday episode. So start us off, Dalan. What's up? What's our big topic this week?
Starting us off strong because it just dropped as of yesterday, Monday. Metal Gear Survive trailer, 5 minutes and 50 seconds long, I think. It came through IGN. A lot of people apparently watched it. I think it was like 20,000 people, but only 4,000 gave it up.
It was like 200,000 people, Dalan. Come on.
I said 20. My bad, 200,000. But 4,000 people gave it up votes, and 10,000 people gave it down votes. And me being a Metal Gear fan, I'd probably give it an extra down vote. Carlos, how do you feel about this?
Why would you give it a down vote, man? Don't be why you keep siding with the mass populace, Dalan? Think for yourself.
But I'm not siding with the mass populace. I'm siding with myself. I played every other Metal Gear game.
Well, it is unfortunate that Kojima's not involved. Yeah, it's unfortunate that Kojima isn't involved in this anymore, but Kojima's still, Konami still, they still got the license. It's their license, so they're gonna push it forward still. This Metal Gear Survive. What did you think of the trailer, Dalan? What are some of the takeaways you have from seeing this 5 minute? And it was a 5 minute Metal Gear Survive gameplay trailer, sort of a trailer, but gameplay session, single player wise. What do you think of the game?
Well, just starting out, my first impression is they really tried to throw a story into it, and I don't understand. They just threw portals into it so that they could create a reason to create this game, in reality, it doesn't seem like it connects to the Metal Gear universe. It seems like there's this huge disconnect. It's like a complete alternate universe. It went very Last of Us / Fortnite because you can just build things, or I forgot the name of the other one I was thinking of, but Starhawk, that was the other one where you could just start building stuff as you're walking around.
Way to bring up 2006, 2007 out of the blue, man, with 6-axis power.
You're welcome.
Yeah. We love your obscure references over here, Dalan.
Hey, they hear my game and they're going to be like, what game is he talking about? Let me look this up. Yeah. But anyways, but the very first minute of the video, they're really trying to make it feel really Hideo Kojima-ish. And I'm not sure if they really pulled it off.
Well, yeah, it's anything that Konami does with the series is really just going to be an imitation of what Kojima would do, right? But yeah, I think their focus on this one is supposed to be multiplayer heavy. It's going to be a $40 game. And there's a beta on January 18th, so we're going to be there to stress test their servers and all that. So I'm pretty sure me and you are going to get down with it, right? Yes. Some of the takeaways, some of the things, and I wrote down a couple little things. But at the very beginning, I seemed like it was a tanker for Metal Gear Solid 2, and it seemed there's going to be zombies in the game.
Well, boss, let me correct you right there. I'm going to correct you right there off the bat. That is the base that Big Boss had out in the middle of the ocean.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. Okay, so I don't know. To me, it just looked like not tanker actually, but yeah, maybe I'm mistaken. Yeah, whatever it is for Metal Gear Solid 2. For Metal Gear Solid 2, I was like, okay, all right, they're trying to tie it into that, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be too canon. I mean, they can't, right? It's not Kojima at the helm of it. Some of the other interesting things is, so it's like zombies, but they're kind of like have crystals on top of their heads. So that was kind of interesting. I noticed you can crawl around on the pipes. And then, of
Which
course,
would look really awkward. I looked at that thing on the video. I was like, this one looks foolish.
So some of the attention to detail is missing, right? Because, and I think that's what it is. I think it's because it's mainly a multiplayer game. And it seemed like very Dead Rising-esque. I don't know if you've ever played Dead Rising, where it's kind of like you're creating and crafting these different weapons. And this one is kind of cool. One of the cool things I saw in it is that you could actually build fences, and you can have the zombies come up to the fence, and you can kind of like poke at the fence and take out zombies that way. But other than that,
you just build stuff right there in front of you.
Oh, is that what it is? In Starhawk, you would have, but you would have like zombies or something. You would have characters coming up to a fence. You just stab them through a fence.
Well, you'd have like enemies coming out of nowhere, and you'd be dropping stuff from the sky. You'd be summoning stuff from space. And
there's full. I don't know what the word is. Full tunning in this. I noticed that, and you can shoot the zombies while you kind of have them up in the sky like that. But I will say, I don't know. One of the things that has me kind of a little hesitant on it is, and you know me, if you know me, Dalan, you know the point where I kind of was like, oh, this crafting, man, crafting. I was like, ugh, crafting. I don't know if I'm down for this. So, but the main thing,
was over there chopping down trees and stuff. I was like,
oh man, as soon as I see trees getting chopped down, I'm like, I don't know if I don't want to be involved with this anymore.
I saw him collect a chair, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, so I mean, but the thing is it should be multiplayer heavy. I don't know why they called this a single player game and they didn't show us multiplayer. Because I think for the most, but like even the story, it doesn't seem like they threw in little bits and pieces. But if you look at a Kojima trailer, I mean, even with Death Stranding, it's heavy story. That you're seeing. A lot of times you're not even seeing gameplay until like probably the very end. So right off the bat, you see gameplay in this, and maybe it's because it's out next month, or I believe it's out next month already, and we have the beta to look forward to. But as far as the story, I don't think we should expect much of the story, and it's multiplayer, so I hope at least the multiplayer is fun enough for us to want to jump in there and get down with it. And it was like, all right, Dalan, you craft everything. I'll just help you out. I'll be over here poking at the zombies by the fence.
No, you see, for Metal Gear, or at least Metal Gear Survive, that was one of its original selling points when they actually announced and dropped it. But the biggest turnoff was it sucking people into that alternate dimension and having all this random stuff happen and all of these Last of Us type monsters running at you that you can blow off their crystal heads. And it's not a Metal Gear game. It just doesn't feel Metal Gear. You might have the mechanics of being able to crawl around and shoot, but then everything else was thrown out the window.
Yeah, I mean,
I can understand why there's so many downloads.
Yeah, some of the trademark weirdness is not there either. I think that you could tell some of the little moments that you could tell they were trying to make it weird, but it's like Kojima kind of was at another level of weirdness, So that's not there. It's going to be a multiplayer type game. It's $40, so I think they hope that people are at least willing to give it a try for a low entry point, right? But other than that, Dalan, I don't know. Do you have anything else to say on that before we move on?
No, not really. I'm just going to say, in regards to whether or not I myself will buy it, probably not sure. And if I do,
we'll try the beta. We'll try the beta, right?
Definitely going to try the beta, but it would. But as to whether or not actually purchasing the full game, even at its lower price, I'm not sure if it's worth it to me. Because again,
well, you're gonna find out. You're gonna find out. But I mean, you kind of get a sense of it from the trailer, right? But once we get down with the beta, we'll figure it out, man. It's already a hard sell for me. Anytime you throw in a crafting, as soon as you start chopping down a tree, I'm like, hold on. I take a step back, and I'm very hesitant on that type of thing. But moving on, Dalan.
Radical reality. All right, go.
And I know you've been kind of you've complained about this to me before, but like, you know what? All we do is talk about the Switch, and nothing but Switch sells and Switch this and Switch that. It's because the Switch, it go hard. That's why, Dalan. But so the latest sales, we got the latest sales on the PlayStation 4, and Sony did pretty well for themselves over the holiday season, which is mid-November 2017 to the end of December 2017. They sold 5.9 million PlayStation 4 consoles, which is a slight dip, according to Polygon, from 6.2 million during the 2016 holiday season. But, you have fresh competition. The Switch released, and, the Switch itself sold 10 million consoles in 2017, right? And in the holiday season, 4.8 million. So there's going to be some competition. You can't eat it all up, Sony, right? You already ate Microsoft lunch, so, you can't necessarily eat the Switch's lunch either. But other than that, the PlayStation Plus subscriptions are up, or I don't know if they're up, but they're at a 31.5 million. But other than that, Dalan, I mean, my question to you is, does this mean that all these consoles can happily coexist amongst each other? They can, sell. Obviously, they're not eating into each other that much, right? The PlayStation's dipped by 300,000, right, approximately. But that, it seems like the Switch can have its lunch and Sony can have its lunch and Microsoft is out there in the weeds.
We've actually gotten to a point in the industry where people just kind of want every console. And as long as their selling points are actually something that people want to play and they have good games coming out for them, then they'll actually go and buy all the systems regardless. They're going to coexist in somebody's living room, I'll tell you that. So it doesn't really matter of whether or not they're coming out at different times or whether or not one's more powerful. The fact is that there are too many people that love the Xbox, there are too many people that love the PlayStation, too many people that love the Nintendo. I mean, I don't hear too much about a Sega Genesis coming out, with the exception of one conversation that we had recently. But
that's just a random point, man. Come on, stick to current consoles.
I moved on from it. But
you did successfully move on from it, sure.
But to say that they can coexist, I think they already do. They already do. Yeah, everybody talks about all three of these systems already.
Yeah, no, and it proves it that it kind of proves that Nintendo kind of created its own category with the Switch, because you're not getting the best graphics out of the Switch, but you are getting portability. You're getting some versatility out of this console where, you really, and I do use it this way. I use it for the most part portably, but I will have it on my TV, and then I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll pause it and I'll take it with me and then I'll play with it in the car whenever, right? So I think this kind of goes to prove that, yeah, sure, some people would have decided a Switch versus a PlayStation 4, but obviously it's not that many more, right? There's just a few, that 300,000 that are like, you know what, I'm going to choose a Switch instead of a PS4. So it does, I think it proves Nintendo's point that they created a whole new category for themselves. And, of course, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox, they really are directly competing with each other. So, I mean, as far as I understand, Xbox hasn't really announced the biggest success, for their system. So,
I was thinking about that. Like, nobody hears too much about Xbox One S or Xbox. What was the other, Xbox One X?
Yeah, Xbox One X, and so at the very least, those are very direct competitors, right? PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Whereas the Switch, it's in its own category. It's its own, like, Nintendo just kind of redid or they reinvented themselves like they did during the Wii era, where they kind of blew everything out of the water. So we'll see. 2018 should be interesting. I mean, they kind of. I was gonna say something, blow something, but they released their big time games. Mario already came out, Zelda already came out, even Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which they could have held over for March or the summer or whatever it is, but they released that too in 2017. So they kind of did release these big time games. So we'll see what happens in 2018 and what's gonna propel them forward. I think. If anything, I think there might be a Smash, man. I would think, even if it's
all Smash, waiting for a Smash. Don't get my hopes up, man. I'm waiting for a Smash.
No, what I'm saying is, like, I really haven't seen them announce anything. Metroid Prime 4. I mean, I'm a big Metroid Prime fan, but I really don't see it coming out, man, this year. I really don't. I mean, the only thing they had to announce for it was a splash screen saying Metroid Prime 4. They don't even have any characters. There's no gameplay. There's no in development screens, nothing like that. So I would think, as far as Smash, we might not even get a brand spanking new Smash. It might be like what they did with Mario Kart 8, the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. We'll get a Smash Brothers Wii U 3DS, however they name that, Deluxe, on the Switch. So, and I think everybody will be happy, man. I mean, I know you would buy a portable re-release of the Wii U version, right? I mean, nobody bought it.
Here's the problem is that even with the last version that came out, I think there was another Smash Brothers that came out for the 3DS, super portable, but
no, it was the same version. It was the same short, and I think you dropped an F-bomb on there, right, Dalan?
No, I didn't.
You were able to avoid it, but we've been trying to keep Dalan from cussing lately, because I'm not gonna go back and edit them. It's going out live. It's going out live.
Right. Anyways, continue.
But yeah. So the 3DS and the Wii U version were actually they were considered the same version. In a sense, right? Because the 3DS version didn't look as good, right? And kind of looked outlined. It kind of looked cel shaded a bit. But you were able to use a controller of the 3DS which was a really convoluted solution, man. It was terrible. I think you had to own a copy of Smash Brothers on the 3DS, and then you have to connect it to the Wii U and to use it as a controller. It's like, why would you use that as a controller when you could use a GameCube or something better than that? But anyways,
actually, you just reminded me of another issue with the Switch. It's actually been bothering me. I guess it's just a kind of a side note. But for the Switch, there was this thing about trying to connect with your friends on trying to play games that are multiplayer. Like, for example, we were trying to play. It was really difficult to invite friends to be able to play with you because you don't really have a friends list, I don't think.
Yeah, that's the thing that we'll see if Nintendo fixes it, man. Maybe that's one of the things. Maybe that is their quote unquote release is like, look, we have a functioning online system now, which, you know, now it's barely doable, man. And it's you know what, actually, it's coming up, right? You're gonna talk about it on this next thing, but I did notice NBA Playgrounds, the new version that they have, and I'll let you talk about it a bit more. But I did notice they have a challenge code or something like that. So even these guys are trying to get around their Nintendo's convoluted and arcane system, where they're like, here's the code, type in the challenge code for us to meet online without being friends. So it's terrible. But I think that's it for Cells, Dylan. What's the next thing? I know I kind of...
Well, we touched base on NBA Playgrounds. So for NBA Playgrounds, they're coming out with the Enhanced Edition, which I guess for people that loved NBA Playgrounds,
released.
For people that love NBA,
yeah, it came out. They released it.
I'm sorry, they released it, but Saber Interactive didn't really announce it very widely, or especially not on the Nintendo Store. So if you don't really follow Saber Interactive, you wouldn't have known that there was an enhanced edition. You might still have the old version. But the thing is, if you delete the old copy of any NBA Playgrounds from your Switch, you won't be able to download it again without getting some sort of an error message, which I guess is irritating a lot of people. If you want a new version, if you want the new version of the game, you'd have to know about it beforehand and manually search for it in the eShop. And on top of that, it's smaller than the original file, which I guess is kind of awesome, especially since people already have space issues with the Switch as it is. So what kind of nonsense do you think this is, Carlos? Do you believe this is? I believe
the big takeaway from this is that the fact that Nintendo doesn't really allow developers to update their game easily enough. And it goes as far as like, we have to release a new version of this game. You know, like, when was the last time, Dalan, on PS4 that you had to download a new version because your old version wouldn't update? It's like, no, it just updates. It just constantly updates, or you click check for update or whatever it is. But on the Nintendo Switch, man, and I think it's just Nintendo just being foolish, or they're... Well, how about this?
They're not online savvy. That's what they're not online savvy whatsoever.
I think and I don't mean it to be like the most negative way, but it's their ignorance in this space. They just haven't done it. You know, they just haven't done it. I mean, Microsoft has been doing it since, Xbox original and PlayStation, they were a little late to the game, but they got it together rather quickly. During PS4 eras, probably because the PS3 took a while, right? The PS3 was like during the second half, they started to get it together. And even then, it was like, we got to release a new console to fully figure this out, right? So I think it's just the growing pains, but I think Nintendo is just, they got to figure this out, man. This is a problem because I didn't have a problem, but yes, I do follow Twitter and I do see this. So for NBA Playgrounds, I already have the old version or the original version. So all I had to do was go into the store and it said it's a free download, right? It's discounted or whatever it is. It's 100% off. It's free.
Free download.
So all I did was download the new version, and you could give credit to Saber Interactive that at least you could still use your old save, right? And I believe they updated to where you unlock characters faster, which in the original was a problem. It was really hard to unlock characters, and they used a sort of a loot crate type of system where you would when you unlocked characters or when you leveled up, you actually got a new pack, a new blind pack, so to speak, and you would open up the cards, and you would get repeats of the characters of the NBA players you already had. So apparently this one updated it, but it's a weird situation. It was like, why do I have to download a complete new version when you could have just updated the older one? So it's one of those, like, we'll see if we get any more updates or if there's any interviews that come out that talk, speak about this. But if anything, NBA Playgrounds, I don't think was the biggest hit for anybody. So it might be one of those that we'll just brush it under the rug. We know we have fans, and at least they took care of the Switch fans, because they've been taking care of the PlayStation and the Xbox One fans with regular updates. I mean, it had the online on the Xbox and PlayStation for like 2 weeks before they finally updated the Switch version with online play. So, you know, and they're trying to find a ways around Nintendo's ridiculous system with this request code, right? With competing online request code, where you don't have to be friends, but you're able to, you know, challenge each other. So
you got to just find.
You know, that's just a.
On top of that, I feel that this game Playgrounds is actually very much followed by people who love NBA Jam. So I know at some point there's going to be
a good game,
a new edition way down the line. They're going to make another edition at some point that's going to be more fire than the last one.
Yeah, I mean, and I reviewed it on Monster Vine, so if you guys want to see my review, I think I gave it a 3.0, and I was actually talking to, you know, my friends, and we have a group chat, right, that we talk about stuff in, and I actually said, you know, I probably would bump it up to a 3.5, man, just based on the upgrades. They added a meter system. The online is pretty terrible. It'll take forever to find a match. But if you play locally, it's perfect for on the go. It's a good game. You know, I don't know if it could compete with NBA Jam or even NBA Home Court, or what was the like NBA Street, and I don't know if it competes on that level, but it's a good enough game to have on your Switch and even on PS4 and Xbox One.
But I would say, well, really quick, one thing I'll note about that is, for it being on the Switch, I found that it was very group friendly when it came to actually playing mobile. When you actually remove the tablet from the actual dock, I mean, you get the whole screen instead of a bunch of split screens. So you get the whole screen for everybody to look at. I mean, you got to huddle around it, but it's still enough to
it's perfect for that. Yeah, it's perfect for that, because if anything, split screen is doable handheld wise on the Switch. But this one's, you get the full screen, right? You get the full screen. It's just like any other NBA game. It's a side-scrolling type of game. But yeah, it's perfect for that. Moving on.
So next one that I have.
Moving on to, wait, we don't have honorable mentions, Dalan.
I know. I was about to say that. Don't worry, I got it. It's for honorable mentions for this episode. First one I got for you guys is for God of War. Of course, made by.
You're off track, Dalan. You're off track. Actually, I wanted to mention you're completely off track. I was actually going to mention the Assassin's Creed Origins is we'll get to God of War, but
right.
Yeah, it was there's actually free updates in the cards for Assassin's Creed Origins starting this month. There will be a new quest will be released later this month that will lead up to the new expansion, The Hidden Ones, which features Bayek. Well, you played the game. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. Bayek faces off against the invading Romans, who have taken over an entirely new region in the game. This is according to US Gamer. And Hika Chess will now have more items available as rewards, adding items from the Nightmare, First Civilization, Gladiator, and Wacky Packs into the pool of items players can win. Players will also be able to sell their outfits at Weaver shops for extra cash. Extra cash. Are you excited for the new expansion, Dalan, or have you run out of content in Assassin's Creed Origins yet?
I have not run out of content yet, but then again, I haven't gotten too far into the game yet. But I know all these excellent new content DLC things are being dropped for the game. So I am excited to know that there is free content coming out for me to continue playing the story. Because I remember in Assassin's Creed 2, it was awesome to have some of that extra stuff just thrown at you to be able to play when you're already having fun with the game.
But they didn't update. They didn't update it like this, though, man. They're talking about they're actually updating it with new content. I don't think they've done it before. I mean, maybe they've had crates and that kind of thing, but this is the first time I'm hearing it, maybe because it's actually focused on single player this time, where I believe the last few entries they were doing like multiplayer, right? A lot. Where they're actually
that's why I said Assassin's Creed 2 with Ezio. That was
but I don't think they updated. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they updated it like this. Is what I'm saying. Like they're updating it with like there's new crates and that kind of thing, and there's also an expansion that's dropping called The Hidden Ones, where if you I think you get it with the season pass, and if you don't have the season pass, I'm sure they sell it off individually or whatever. Do you have the season pass or
nope.
would you consider buying it?
This game was given to me as a present. I did not get a chance to get the season pass, but I should eventually get the season pass because I know all this stuff is going to be coming out anyway. But first,
how far are you in the game? I know you've been playing it, right? This is my thing again with Zelda Breath of the Wild, which I'll probably never buy the DLC. Is like, look, I can't buy DLC if I haven't beat the main game. So,
well, that's basically how I am for Assassin's Creed right now, because I know it's going to be a long game for me. But the distance that I got, there's this section that you start out in. It's Bayek.
well, how about time, Dalan? How much time? So there's no spoilers. How much time have you put into the game?
Time wise, about three hours or so.
Oh man, you know it's supposed to be like a 60-hour game, right?
Well, like I said, I only put like 3 hours into the game, and I know there's plenty of content to play. The moment you look at the map, you know it's going to be a long game. You don't even have to know anything else. Just look at the map, zoom out, and check it. Too big.
Oh, speaking of long games, Dalan, what's next? See, you got it all out of order, Dalan. You're not following the itinerary over here. What is this about God of War?
I had God of War from Santa Monica Studios, supposed to still be releasing sometime in the second quarter of 2018. The series, of course, went to Norse mythology, the way that they've actually moved with it. And the God of War game director, Corey Barlog, I'm saying his name wrong, I know I am, said that Kratos can eventually venture beyond the realm of Norse mythology and specifically name drop both the Egyptian and Mayan settings as potential future options. So I was talking previously about how the God of War series kind of did this whole stagnant thing. It's like he's already done it. He killed all the gods. We're kind of done. They're creating another one. I didn't feel too great about it, but of course, when it actually goes into an entirely new set of mythology, I know it's supposed to be a type of soft reboot, knowing who Kratos is, but it's an entirely different setting with a different set of gods. Knowing that you could have Norse gods, that whole series, you can do 1, 2, and 3 of Norse gods. Hopefully, it doesn't get that far. Hopefully, they just do a great job with the first one. Then you could have Egyptian gods, just a whole bunch of Egyptian gods. Then you could have Mayan gods. There are just a lot of gods.
Did they? So it's the sense that I'm getting from what you're saying is that they're Assassin's Creed-ifying the series, or that's the plan.
That is their potential plan.
Now, did you get a sense? I don't know if they. I mean, they probably don't want to go too deep into it, but because Assassin's Creed is connected through the Animus, I believe they call it something like that, right? In that series, that's how they connect all the series together. That's why you can have you can be in Egypt, you can be in London, you can be in all these different areas. But for God of War, they didn't mention anything like that, where this is the conduit or this is the new. This is why we're gonna be able to expand the universe in this way. Because I'm excited about Mayan, man. Anything Mexican, I'm down. Like Guacamole, Severed. You know, I really love Drinkbox. Hey, Drinkbox Studios, love you guys, man. You guys, I think they're like Canadians.
You're going way off track at this point.
I am going way off track, but I'm just saying, like the Mayan God of War setting and kind of Mayan environment, that would be great. And it would be Kratos within all this, or
it would still be Kratos. That's what I would think they mean, right? But I'm not sure. Well, as of right now, I haven't actually found anything that is connecting these series, these particular series. But even so, everybody really knows who Kratos is. They know he's basically a god slayer, and regardless of which mythology or setting that you place him in, he's gonna go kill some gods.
He's gonna slay some gods. Yeah, exactly.
But it just depends on which gods he goes to kill, and each one can create its own set of stories, which is awesome. So yes, they are Assassin's Creeding it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll find out more, right, with the new one. It should be coming out pretty soon, man. I mean, I know they've released the God of Wars like during March. I know maybe they switched it up in the last couple of them, but they're usually released around March, so they really should. They got to get to a release date pretty soon, man. Speaking of something releasing soon, though, Dalan, Dragon Ball Fighter Z will apparently introduce bubblegum-haired Goku Black from the Dragon Ball Super series. The game releases January 26th. Does this make you more excited for the game? Have you been following Dragon Ball Super?
I'm actually halfway through. They're on like episode 122 or something like that. I'm only on like episode 56, so I'm halfway there. But
like you've got into Goku Black, I guess. Have you gotten into this character? Is this a new character for the whole series?
Yeah, so Goku Black was just recently introduced for what I was actually watching. And I know he's like super powerful and does all kinds of stuff, and I'm not going to get into detail on that. But I know that there are a bunch of characters that are going to be in Dragon Ball Fighter Z that I am excited for, because when I played the other Budokai games and Tenkaichi, they kept recycling the old characters over and over again. This time they have a new set of characters with a new set of rules for the whole game.
Wait, so Dragon Ball Fighter Z is supposed to be based on they're all coming from the Dragon Ball Super series, or from just any of the Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z? And
they're very focused on Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super.
Okay.
There are going to be some Dragon Ball aspects that are coming to the game, but its primary focus is going to be Z and Super. And as of right now, from all the added content that I keep seeing pop up in the game, it looks like they're leaning more towards Super than they are Z, because of course they want to move forward with the fact that they've created this new series for people who love Dragon Ball to be able to come and rejuvenate.
Now, how do you think Goku Black would kind of differentiate himself as a character in Dragon Ball Fighter Z versus other characters? Or you haven't gotten a sense of them yet? I do have a sense of him, because I know Dragon Ball. I know Goku Black is, in this case, well, I'm going to say that use the term evil. He's a bad guy. Period. Okay.
And
is he sort of like see, I'm gonna show my ignorance there, but in Street Fighter, would he be like an Akuma? Would he be sort of like an Akuma? No? There you go. No, hey, it's my ignorance. I'm sorry, because to me, I see Akuma, I see an evil version of like Ryu and Ken. That's my understanding. I was like, that's an evil version of those guys.
Well, you can think of it more as a Ryu versus evil Ryu, because if you actually split their personalities out, then there's that. Or Ryu.
So you agree that yes, it's an evil version of this then? Goku Black would be sort of an evil version of, I don't know, regular Goku.
I'm gonna go with the word alternate. I'm gonna go with the word alternate, because it's an alternate. It's another dimension. Because there's like 13 universes or something like that. He's from another universe, and he comes looking just like Goku, just evil, and doesn't care about his life. He's going to destroy people. But again, I'm not going to.
He doesn't care about his own self-being then, or his well-being, I guess.
No, he doesn't care about anybody else's well-being. That's what I mean.
Oh, okay, that's fair. So what else we got on this list?
But the fact is that because of the way, I got to say it now, because of the fact that they're from alternate universes, their lives, of course, rolled out differently, so their move sets are completely different. That's why I was actually stating that, is that they have a completely different move sets.
So you'll grab the game and you bring it over and we can play it. I'm fine with this. I'm fine. You're gonna buy it day one.
You from left side of the screen to the right side of the screen, but don't worry about that. Just accept it as an inevitability.
All right, what do we got next, Dalan? What do we got next? Is honorable mention.
Next one, I was really excited about it. Is the wireless VR that they actually announced through HTC. They're creating a Vive adapter. I know that there are a couple of VR adapters that are already out there, but I've heard down the vine that it's not those aren't the best ones. But with this new one coming out, it's supposed to use Intel's WeGig or WiGig. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. WeGig technology. That's what we call it. The WeGig will operate at 60 gigahertz for the broadband. That way, they could try and prevent some of the performance problems that the other ones had. Or I guess that's their intent. I guess it's been tested a lot. I myself haven't tested it, so I'm definitely ready to test it. So HTC, if you want to send me one, feel free. HTC won't actually be releasing the adapter until this summer. They haven't actually announced a specific date, and they haven't announced the price for it as of today. But Carlos, did you ever try any of these other wireless adapters that came out?
Well, no, I think this is going to be the first time that it's actually releasing. I mean, I don't know, unless you can tell me that they've already been out there. I mean, it's been wireless as far as like the one that you can use on your phone, I believe. The Samsung one, I believe, has one. It's wireless as far as that's concerned, but you still have your phone attached to your face, so you're still using something. It's still wired in a sense. But this one, I mean, this is the next step in making it a little easier, man, because part of the problem with VR, and we've talked about it before, is that it's accessible. It's the most accessible VR has been in forever, since Lawnmower Man, I guess you could say. But the next step is wireless. The next step is a little cheaper and easier to get to, and it doesn't require this monster PC, which we're already sort of getting with the PlayStation 4. It's not a monster PC, it's not the greatest thing. So the more accessible, the better. I mean, if it's going to be wireless, I'm sure it's going to be pricey, you know, right off the gate. And you said HTC Vive isn't one of the better ones. It's actually, I think, considered the best one because
I didn't say it wasn't the better ones. I just heard that there were other ones that weren't too good.
Oh, okay, I heard you. Well, I thought I heard you say it's not one of the better ones, but it actually is one of the ones that will give you full room VR. And I believe the Oculus kind of gives you a sense of that, but I know like. HTC Vive is like a convoluted, like, let me have sensors here, like in a triangular fashion or whatever it is, like where you have to actually triangulate your signal and make sure it's all kind of where you need to be. But yeah, this is the next step. This is the next step to make it more accessible, a little easier to take out because, you know, we've talked about it before, but the wires themselves are what keeps me from, you know, that, and it doesn't have an HDR pass-through. I don't have version 2.0 of the PlayStation VR. But the wires are one of the things that keep me from kind of pulling that out at any given moment. You know, it's still like a lot of wires to connect the headphones. And I believe this one is supposed to have the headphones attached to it, right? I believe. So far, they haven't.
There wasn't actually. They haven't announced too much information on exactly what it's going to be like. I'm sure they'll adjust it to be able to actually suit people's needs.
Yeah, but good job, Dalan. Good job. You didn't fully read into it. But I think this one.
No, I did read into it. It's just that the information for that.
I think this one, yeah, is supposed to have integrated headphones, which is pretty cool. Which kind of the Oculus Rift sort of did have, but this one is, you know, it's ready to go. It's their integrated headphones, wireless. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, it was released to CES. CES is supposed to be kind of where you announce top of the line stuff. It's not necessarily cheap, but this is what's coming next. So
we'll assume to be like around $300 when it does.
Yeah, you know, maybe. You know, hopefully Sony and Oculus rip them off completely, and we'll get a wireless version of those in their next iterations. So,
you know what? Don't even worry about it. Just plug yourself in. Matrix style.
Yeah, whichever way you do it, right? Just plug yourself in. So the next thing on here, Dan, this will be of interest to you. The ESRB has just rated a Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. It's nothing official yet as far as Square hasn't announced it, but you know, you get these all the time where ESRB they're rating stuff. They don't care. You know, they're not trying to hide it.
They rate it however they feel like it.
So Square hasn't officially announced it, but it is ESRB rated. So I'm guessing this latest release will include, you know, every piece of DLC to date. Maybe I would think maybe it's a possibly fall release. I would think, you know, they have something to kind of all the DLC comes out. Here's the full complete version. What our friend Jeremy has been waiting on, right? We'll see if he actually picks it up. But yeah, so there's still some DLC to come, and maybe that, you know, that'll come into it. But are you going to partake, Dalan, or are you just going to kind of enjoy the upcoming DLC a la carte and just buy it piece by piece?
Well, I've already actually bought the season pass, so
you should be getting most of it then, right?
I get all of it, I believe. I mean, I can't think of anything that wouldn't actually come with it. I mean, for the new,
I think there's some stuff that they're. I think there's some stuff that they're not including. I think I'm not sure, but you know, they still have stuff to release, right? It is the thing with this.
There wasn't too much more announced in regards to what they would be releasing. So when they do this Royal Edition, if they actually do include all the previous DLC with it, the only reason I'd even want to get it is if there's new DLC that's going to be coming out specifically with this edition. So unless something special drops with it, the fact that I've already been with it since day one, it's like picking up Destiny now versus picking up Destiny the Taken King. I mean,
you were there for the journey. That's the important thing. You were there.
I got it. So if we're trying to get this Royal thing out, I think it's just so they can bundle it and have people want to pick it up.
And they'll sell it for $60 again. And they'll sell for $60.
Yep, they'll go back to.
I would think they'd go. I would think they'd go cheaper, right? I would think they'd go 40, 50. I would think. Well, I don't know. Even with the DLC and everything.
Even with the DLC, but regardless, once they do drop this, if it includes all the previous DLC, for those who don't care about the DLC and just want to play the game outright, it's going to make it a lot easier for people when they can go pick up Final Fantasy 15.
Will it still be missing that? Will it still be missing like a chapter? What was the chapter that was missing in the game? Like 11 or 12 or something? Or
it wasn't the fact that the chapter was missing. It wasn't a chapter that was missing. It was one, you could glitch out the game and break it and basically never beat the game. But there was another. There was a chapter that the way that it rolled out, the story seemed extremely incomplete. So they completely took out a chapter and added a different chapter.
But what do you mean? What that is missing a chapter? What are you talking about? It's not that it was missing.
It wasn't missing.
In the most literal sense, it's missing a chapter, Dalan. In the most literal sense, it's missing a chapter.
No, it's more like they changed the chapter. That's what they did.
All right, what do we got next, Dalan? What do we got next, Dalan?
All right. Well, last thing that I have on my list here is this thing about, well, we already know that the government for the U.S. has actually been toying with the idea of using VR for training purposes, simulations and things like that. It's already in the Air Force. I was recently talking to one of my other friends about it. But being that it's a development tool for a shooting sim for a lot of people, now they're developed by Enhanced Dynamic Geosocial Environment, or AKA EDGE. I like the way they decided to abbreviate.
Yeah, they did that on purpose. They did that on purpose.
Well, they decided to develop this $5.6 million VR program that would previously train fire departments and police agencies to respond to school shootings. Now they're going to actually update it so it trains teachers to be able to respond in regards to any type of a hostage or shooting situation. I guess especially with all the shootings that have been happening in the U.S. But there will be 3 playable roles for it. You're going to be able to be the teacher, the shooter, or the officer, each one with their own objectives and their own particular roles and protocols. Just to give you a brief example, being that the teacher may have to take some of the students that are there and try and get them to safety, while the shooter, their job is to actually go and pretty much find anybody that they kill, and the police officer is supposed to be following protocols to be able to actually find the shooter. It's a pretty awesome way to actually have that happen. And thinking about it, I was thinking, man, why can't they release this type of sim game in real life? I mean, us as people be able to deal with these type of real life situations, though you may not want to actually develop too much on the shooter part, because
well, you know what? Now that you mentioned all that, I do remember now that it is kind of the trippy thing, right? That they're it's such a bad thing. It's gotten to such a bad point that there's these school shootings where you have to actually develop a sim for it, where you have to know how to react to it, and then they have these different types, like you said, you have the teacher and the police officer, and you control the children too, I believe. It's kind of like,
I think there's one where you can control the children, but
yeah, but it's such a trip, man, where you, when you think about, because I was thinking like, I had it on the list for you to it's like, oh, the government, okay, they're creating another school sim or another shooting sim, but then the trip is, it's kind of like, well, they're developing this. It's like, man, this is the reality we live in now, which is just, yeah. It's an unfortunate thing where it's like you have to train teachers now to how do you react in one of these situations. But it's one of those unfortunate things, and it gets real political real fast. But it's just, as far as speaking of the reality that we live in, it's like, I mean, it's crazy that we have to train for this kind of stuff, man, and it's unfortunate, but. I hope it does help. It does help, and you can't prevent every tragedy. Is how it is, and living in our country, this is how it is. We have Second Amendment rights, which, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's a pros and cons. It's like we're trading off, some. We have our liberty as far as this is concerned, but the trade-off is we live in a inherently more dangerous world for it.
Well,
because
I will
because we're not Minority Report, we can't tell when somebody's going to do something. They have to first do it, and then we can, prosecute, and then we can
react.
React. But that's the unfortunate thing is, if people can just grab weapons easily enough, then it's kind of like, well, all we have is to react, and this is why the sim, it has to exist, unfortunately.
Yeah, and even thinking about the sim itself, I just have the small message: if any type of teachers or police officers ever see this particular this podcast, being that for anybody who actually trains under the video, it'll definitely help with the anxiety or whatever you may have problems with in those type of situations. But don't forget, it's a simulation. It's not the same as the real world.
Well, of course, Dalan, of course.
Yeah, I know. But there are people that
it's supposed to give you some.
there are people that will take it at 1-to-1 value for these type of simulations. They'll think,
it's supposed to
I
give
passed
you
the simulation 100% score. Then they go out into the real world and they get socked in the face because they're not using their gun. It's not the same.
It's supposed to give you some tools, right? I mean, whoever's thinking of this, as good as it is, as good as graphics are, as good as the control input is and feedback or whatever it is, it's of course it's not the real thing, right? But this is just in hopes to give people the tools to know it's like, oh, I can react that way, which is an unfortunate reality that we live in, right, in the US.
I'm glad that they are giving some sort of training to these people so they at least have a sense of what may actually occur. And hopefully it never happens to anybody, but
and we'll end it on a sort of positive one. Well, I think it'll be positive for you, not so much for me. But so Xbox One backwards compatible title Burnout Paradise might be making a return on current consoles. Found on US Gamer, and as far as their article on US Gamer, according to Gematsu, a Japanese retailer listed Burnout Paradise HD Remaster, which it says title tentative for a March 16 release, is priced at 4,104 yen, which is about $36.28. The HD re-release might be set for a March launch date across both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One consoles. So I don't know what your history with Burnout Paradise necessarily is, Dalan. Would you look forward to a re-release of this?
Now, you were talking about me being more excited about it, but my experience and my history with this game is the fact that the only reason I even played it is because of you.
Okay, all right. I'm bringing back these memories then.
Well, for that game, I remember it was by the time I got around to it, because I kind of missed out on the boat. That's what I'll say for it. I missed out on the boat for it because I know it was an online game. By the time I got around to it, the world was basically dead. I know me and you drove around in it for a little while playing some of the races that were actually online for the settings. And then I know that they had that update to be able to put motorcycles in. So that was an exciting thing. And I hope that they're able to actually do this with their new HD. They could build it.
This game
out of the Colossus.
The game did have a lot of fans, and at first I kind of liked it because it's supposed to be it was maybe like one of the first games, at least on consoles anyways, where it was a consistently online game. I believe you couldn't even pause in it either, unless there was an offline mode that if you went offline, you could pause. But other than that, it was a completely online game. It was all set up through your D-pad. You would send friend requests, or you would send, friend invites and all that, and it would populate the world in that sense. The only drawback that I had to it, that I miss Burnout 3 type takedown, where it's like it's a level. You're racing through a level. Now Burnout Paradise was just a big old world where it's like, I'm going to miss turns here. Here. There's no specific line. So it was basically like you were playing GTA, man, GTA Online or whatever. But it was a fun enough game. Yeah, it was a fun enough game, and I believe it didn't have crashing. I think that was one of the biggest drawbacks, or that it didn't have the crashing mode, I believe. I don't know, I have to double check. But really, I liked it enough, and then I was like, you know what, I don't like this. I want them to go back to make a really good level, And what proved the point was like a split second. When we were playing split second, was like, it was just a level. This is just a level, a really good made level, and not to say that Burnout Paradise wasn't a good setup, but it was like, it's just a big old world where you're gonna miss exits here left and right, and there's no clear path to it, which is probably what some people like. Some people like crashing out in the middle of nowhere because they just missed an exit. So but
and I enjoyed the crazy obstacles and things that would fly in your way. I mean, I was recently playing another racing game, Cruising well, I can't call it Cruising USA. It was like Cruising Fire Force or something like that. I can't remember what it was called. It was actually in the arcade, but I was actually surprised that it was just made like a year and a half ago, and it was super exciting. I was like, why can't they make another racing game like this? Have full stages. That was
so I mean, if they bring out
shortcuts, knocking people out of the way, having them crash into obstacles, all the fun is kind of missing from Paradise. I mean, you could turn corners and probably go up.
And Burnout Paradise you could actually maybe even say that it was ahead of its time, because it is sort of. It could be a Destiny-ish type of game, but, they're not saying they're going to make a sequel. They're just going to have a re-release. So it might be – I'm saying the fact that you have little tasks to do, you'd have to blow through billboards. I'm not – Dalan, don't be so literal. I'm not saying it's a first-person shooter like Destiny. What I'm saying is you got little tiny tasks. You could go through billboards. It's a big open world. It's a connected environment that you play with other people. So in that sense, it could have. It's it's a shared world online game that maybe it was ahead of its time. So maybe this makes this creates a new audience, and maybe we get a sequel. That people have been waiting for. And the spiritual successor to this was actually I think a lot of the Need for Speeds kind of went this way, but Criterion actually worked on Need for Speed. I believe it was Most Wanted, whichever one was the one that came out on Vita and PS3. So if you want the spiritual successor to Burnout Paradise, you have it already. You just kind of have to find your copy of Need for Speed on Vita or on PS3, and that it really was, because I believe Criterion actually worked on it. And I think they work on the Need for Speed series now, so I'll have to check that. But
so they went from talk about that during our next video. Maybe we can
our next podcast. So that was Salient Points number 16 for January 9th. I believe I got the date right this time. I'm Carlos Macias. You can find me at Aduce Clean, and my co-host. Where can they find you, Dalan?
You can find me because Zaysha at Twitter. Follow either one of us. Feel free. Subscribe.
Yeah, so I thought Burnout Paradise was your thing, Dalan. Now
I do like racing.
We did end on a bad note. We did end on a bad note.
Well, no, it's not bad.
Well, you know what? At least I like that you agree with me with the fact that this wasn't the most amazing game, as some people like to proclaim that it's like the best.
No, I do like racing games.
It was fun enough.
It's just that one just wasn't up my alley.
It was fun enough. It wasn't some. You get bored. After you miss like the fifth exit, man, it's enough is enough. All right, give me a real racing game.
Hey, you have a short attention span. That's